Across Canada, the dream once felt simple: work hard, save wisely, buy a home, and build a future. But today that promise has vanished. From Halifax to Vancouver, Canadians are realizing that the key to stability, a home, has been taken out of reach. The housing market has transformed from a cornerstone of community into a playground for the wealthy. Families who once built lives around affordable mortgages now find themselves renting indefinitely or fighting to survive bidding wars that feel rigged from the start. This is the story of how one of the richest countries on earth built an economy that prices its own citizens out of their own soil. Chapter 1. The Vanishing Dream. Canada was once proud of being a homeowners nation. In 1971, more than 67% of Canadians owned the place they lived in. By 2025, that number has fallen below 62%, the lowest level in decades. It's not that people stopped wanting homes, it's that homes stopped wanting people. Incomes have barely budged, but prices have exploded. The average home price nationwide now sits near $730,000, while in Toronto and Vancouver, it's over $1.4 million. Even modest detached houses in mid-sized cities like Halifax, Calgary, and Ottawa are pushing $700,000 or more. Compare that to 1970, when a new home cost 4 times the average annual income. Today it costs over 12 times. The math no longer works. Canadians used to believe that home ownership was a reward for discipline. Now it feels like a prize reserved for those born into money or into luck. Parents who once promised their kids a better life now find their adult children still sleeping in the same bedrooms they grew up in. Across the country, for sale signs are being replaced by sold over asking banners, not to families, but to investment firms, flippers, and offshore buyers. In cities like Vancouver, nearly 1 in 5 condos sits vacant for much of the year, treated as an investment rather than a home. The dream didn't disappear overnight. It was stolen, brick by brick, policy by policy, profit by profit. Chapter 2. The numbers no one can afford. Let's talk data. Because behind every story is a number that doesn't make sense. According to the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, CMHC, a household should spend no more than 30% of its income on housing. But in 2025, more than 44% of Canadian households exceed that threshold. In major cities, it's closer to 60%. The average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment has surpassed $2,750 in Toronto, $2,750 in Vancouver, and $2,100 in Calgary, all record highs. Meanwhile, the median after-tax income for a full-time worker remains around $56,000 per year, or about $4,600 per month. After rent, utilities, food, and transportation, almost nothing remains. Interest rates haven't helped. The Bank of Canada's policy rate may have eased slightly from its 2024 peak, but mortgage renewals are still crushing households. A family who bought a $600,000 home in 2020 is now paying $1,200 to $1,500 more per month just to keep the same roof. These aren't luxury buyers, they're teachers, nurses, mechanics. And every rate increase, every property tax hike, pushes another Canadian family toward the edge. What's worse, corporate landlords and real estate investment trusts, REITs, have moved in. The 5 largest REITs now own tens of thousands of units once held by individuals. When housing becomes an asset class, people become expendable. In the US and UK, similar trends exist, but Canada's ratio of home price to median income is now among the worst in the OECD, worse even than London or Los Angeles. Australia shares our pain, a nation where vast land doesn't equal affordability, proving geography isn't the issue. Policy is. Chapter 3. Renters trapped in limbo. For millions of Canadians, the word rent was supposed to mean temporary. Today, it's permanent. The rental crisis is the dark twin of the ownership trap. Demand is at record highs, but supply lags years behind. Across Canada, the rental vacancy rate has dropped to 1.5%, the lowest since national records began. In Toronto and Vancouver, it's effectively zero. That scarcity gives landlords unchecked power. Listings demand not only proof of income, but sometimes 6 months of rent up front. Bidding wars for rentals, once unthinkable, are now routine. Students cram 6 to a basement. New immigrants share single bedrooms. Young professionals delay families because there's literally no room to grow. Rents are rising twice as fast as wages, and rent control barely exists outside Quebec. Even in provinces that claim to cap increases, loopholes allow landlords to reset prices when tenants move, a practice known as renoviction. This crisis is reshaping Canadian cities. Downtown cores are losing the very workers who keep them alive: nurses, service staff, teachers, because they simply can't afford to live near their jobs. Commuting time stretched to 2 hours or more. Quality of life vanishes under exhaustion. And when renters finally try to buy, they discover that years of paying sky-high rent have left them unable to save for a down payment. It's a perfect circle of frustration, designed, it seems, to keep people running in place. If this story hits home, tap like so more Canadians see what's really happening in our country. Every like pushes this message further and helps expose the truth that policymakers prefer to ignore. Chapter 4: Policy, Politics, and Corporate Greed. The housing crisis didn't just happen, it was built. Policy by policy, decade by decade. For years, successive governments treated real estate like a shortcut to economic growth. When housing prices rose, politicians took credit for a strong economy. When prices crashed, they panicked. So they did whatever it took to keep values rising: tax breaks, low interest rates, foreign investment, and easy credit. Developers quickly learned how to play the game. Land flipping became profitable, zoning laws stayed frozen, and affordable housing projects stalled in red tape. Large corporations and wealthy investors bought entire blocks of pre-construction condos before ordinary buyers could even see the listings. In Ottawa, policy was sold as housing supply strategy. In reality, it was a transfer of wealth from workers to speculators. The result? A system where building a home for living is less profitable than hoarding one for profit. Federal tax incentives reward developers for luxury construction, not affordable units. Municipalities rely on sky-high property tax revenue, so they have no motivation to lower prices. In 2025, Canada has nearly 1.3 million vacant homes, yet over 250,000 people are homeless or in temporary shelters. That's not a market failure, that's a moral one. And still, politicians smile for photo ops at groundbreaking ceremonies, while young families wait years on affordable housing lists that never move. Chapter 5: Millennials and Gen Z, locked out of the future. For the younger generation, the Canadian dream isn't just delayed, it's deleted. Millennials are now entering their prime earning years, yet many still rent with roommates or live with parents. Gen Z graduates start careers already buried in student debt. According to StatsCan, the average Canadian under 35 has just $8,000 in savings, while a 10% down payment on an average home requires $73,000. That's a gap too wide to cross without family help. And many don't have that luxury. The Bank of Canada calls it financial delayed adulthood. Sociologists call it a lost generation. The psychological impact is devastating. Dreams of marriage, children, and stability are pushed back or abandoned altogether. For the first time in Canadian history, a majority of people in their 30s say they believe they'll never own a home. Meanwhile, baby boomers, who benefited from decades of price growth, own over 40% of all residential wealth. Many did nothing wrong. They bought when homes were affordable, But the gap between them and their children has become a fault line in Canadian society. In Australia and the UK, similar trends exist. But Canada's ratio of housing costs to income is even worse, making us one of the hardest places in the developed world for young people to enter the market. As one young nurse in Calgary put it, "I save half my paycheck and still fall behind every month." That sentence could be the anthem of a generation. Chapter 6. The Investor Nation. Somewhere along the way, Canada stopped being a country of homeowners and became a nation of landlords. Real estate investment is now a primary wealth strategy for the upper class. In cities like Toronto and Vancouver, more than 1 in 5 homes is owned by someone who already owns another property. The top 10% of landlords control nearly half of all rental units. REITs, real estate investment trusts, have turned homes into stocks. They buy entire apartment buildings, raise rents 10 to 20%, and pass profits to shareholders. They face no cap on how many properties they can own and enjoy massive tax advantages. Economists warn that Canada is repeating the same mistakes as the US before the 2008 crash. But with a twist, our crisis is about scarcity, not subprime lending. Foreign investment plays its part too. Despite a temporary ban on non-resident buyers, loopholes and corporate shell companies still allow offshore money to flow freely into Canadian real estate. This pushes prices up while adding nothing to supply. Globally, other nations are responding. New Zealand imposed strict foreign buyer laws. The UK taxes vacant properties, but Canada's measures remain timid and temporary. We've built an economy that depends on unaffordable housing to feel healthy. And that's the trap. Every policy that tries to lower prices risks crashing the economy. So governments hesitate and Canadians suffer. If you've seen this firsthand, rising rents, sky-high mortgages, or losing your chance to buy, drop a comment below. Your story matters, and we may feature some in our next video. Chapter 7. How the rest of the world fights back. Canada isn't alone in its housing nightmare, but we are uniquely slow to learn from others. In the United Kingdom, runaway prices triggered sweeping reforms: a windfall tax on vacant luxury properties, higher capital gains taxes on quick flips, and incentives for first-time buyers. London's housing market cooled, not crashed, because government prioritized occupancy over speculation. In Australia, where Sydney's home prices once rivaled Vancouver's, the government introduced a foreign buyer levy and funded massive public housing construction in suburban belts. Supply finally started to catch up. In the United States, local jurisdictions have turned empty office towers into residential co-ops. California alone plans to convert more than 15 million square feet of underused commercial real estate into affordable housing by 2026. Meanwhile, in Canada, red tape strangles similar ideas. Cities debate for years while homelessness doubles. Developers sit on approved land because it's more profitable to wait for the next price surge. Experts estimate Canada needs 5.8 million new homes by 2030 just to restore balance, but at current build rates, we'll barely reach half that. The lesson from abroad is simple. Housing crises don't fix themselves. They bend only under sustained public pressure and bold policy. The nations that act treat housing as a human right, not an investment vehicle. Chapter 8. The Human Cost. Homelessness and Mental Strain. Behind every chart is a person. And behind every statistic, a story. Homelessness in Canada has surged beyond 250,000 citizens living in shelters, cars, or tent encampments each year. Many are employed yet can't afford rent. Cities like Toronto and Vancouver have built temporary warming shelters, but not permanent solutions. Mental health fallout is staggering. A 2025 Angus Reid survey found 58% of renters experience weekly anxiety about eviction. Suicide prevention hotlines report record calls tied to financial stress. Families are fracturing. Adult children delay independence. Marriages strain under relentless bills. Seniors lose homes they've owned for decades due to rising property taxes. The erosion isn't just financial, it's emotional. Canadians pride themselves on decency, fairness, and stability. But when shelter becomes a privilege, that national identity begins to crack. Shelters overflow while luxury condos rise half-empty nearby, a visual metaphor for inequality. As one outreach worker in Vancouver put it, "We used to have homeless people without jobs. Now we have jobs without homes." This isn't only an urban problem. Rural Canada faces its own crisis as short-term rentals hollow out small towns, converting affordable homes into vacation listings. Communities lose teachers, nurses, and young families, the lifeblood of their future. If the moral measure of a nation is how it treats the vulnerable, Canada is failing its own test. Chapter 9: A Blueprint to Rebuild Canada's Future. The trap can be escaped, but not with timid steps. Economists, builders, and social advocates agree on a roadmap. Massive public investment in housing. Re-establish federal and provincial housing corporations to build affordable and cooperative units at scale, not as charity, but as national infrastructure. 2. Vacancy and speculation. Taxes with teeth. Apply annual levies on homes left empty more than 6 months and close loopholes for shell companies. 3. Zoning reform. Legalize multi-unit dwellings in single-family zones, streamline approvals, and cut municipal delays that add years and millions to construction. 4. Empower first-time buyers. Offer down payment matching for Canadians earning below $100K and ban blind bidding that inflates prices. 5. Strengthen rent protections. Index rent caps to inflation, restrict renovictions, and incentivize long-term leases. 6. Rebalance the tax system. Shift incentives away from multiple property ownership toward productivity and innovation. These policies aren't radical, they're rational. Other nations have proven they work. But beyond policy, something deeper must change. The collective belief that ever-rising home prices equal success. True prosperity isn't measured by how expensive our houses are, but by how many Canadians can live in one. To restore that vision, we must unite as citizens, not as investors. Demand accountability. Reward integrity. Vote for those who build communities, not profits. Canada has always been a land of builders. Now we must rebuild the meaning of home. Canada's strength has always come from its people, not its politicians, not its corporations. But right now, those people are being crushed under the weight of a system that forgot who it's supposed to serve. It's time to take our country back, not through anger, but through awareness. If you believe Canadians deserve better, like this video, share it, and help us reach 6,000 viewers who still care about truth, fairness, and the future of this country. Because the cost of living and the dream of home should never be the cost of living itself.